Justice Madan Lakoor and friends, a very good evening to you all. Welcome to this annual event of Media Foundation. I am Harish Khare and I am currently the chairperson of Media Foundation. This evening, we shall be honoring the joint winners of 2019 Chameli Devi Jain Award for an outstanding woman journalist, as well as having the privilege of listening to the 2020 V.G. Varghese Memorial Lecture to be delivered by distinguished jurist Justice Madan Lakoor, a retired judge of the Supreme Court. Our annual event normally takes place in India International Center, but as we know, circumstances have conspired that things should be different, and so we are constrained to hold this event digitally. Permit me to say a few words about the Media Foundation. The Media Foundation was conceived and set up by V.G. Varghese and like-minded editors and journalists in 1979. Varghese Sahab and eminent editors like Prabhat Joshi, N.S. Jagannathan, Ajit Bhattacharya, Kuldeep Nair were deeply affected by the experience of internal democracy from June 1975 to January 1977, when the Indian media, like many other institutions, came under assault from a determined and unforgiving administration. They were disturbed as to how easy it was for the government of the day to deny the media its autonomy, its robustness, and its professional space. Just as they were equally perturbed by the all too easy willingness of the media to fall in line. The idea before setting up Media Foundation was then to restate some basic fundamental truths and values of a free media. It brought together not just editors and journalists, but also professionals from different arenas of artistic creativity with the objective of defending and expanding freedom of speech and expression. Among its major activities, the Media Foundation takes pride in awarding every year the Chameli Devi Jain Award to a woman journalist for outstanding performance. The Chameli Devi Award, it ought to be noted, has been instituted in the name of Chameli Devi Jain, herself a pioneering activist and freedom fighter. The award is decided by a selection committee of eminent professional journalists and academicians. This year, we were privileged to have journalists like Srinivas Jain, managing editor of NDTV, Mr. Manoj Mitta, an editor who writes on legal human rights and public policy issues, and Professor Zoe Hassan, Professor Emerita of the Center for Political Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. On behalf of Media Foundation, I wish to acknowledge our gratitude to the distinguished three-member jury for undertaking this task. Besides the Chameli Devi Award this evening, we will also listen to the V.G. Varghese Memorial Lecture. This lecture series was instituted in memories of Varghese Sahab, who passed away in 2014. Over the last 5 years, we have Mr. Gopal Gandhi, Jaira Ramesh, Pratap Bhanu Mehta, and former Vice President Honorable Hamid Ansari deliver the Varghese Memorial Lecture. The Media Foundation remains grateful to the Varghese family members for their continued involvement and encouragement, and to the Raja Foundation for its financial generosity that has made this evening possible. To start this evening's proceedings, I now request Mr. Manoj Mitta to read out the jurors' report for this year's Chameli Devi Award. This will be followed by reading of citations by the Pune-based Latika Patgaonkar, a senior member of the Media Foundation, and the awardees' acceptance speeches will follow. Thank you very much. Mr. Mitta.
The jury is happy to declare Rohini Mohan and Arfa Khanum Sherwani as joint winners of the 2019 Chameli Devi Jain Award. This rare departure from the practice of selecting a solitary winner is a reflection of the high quality of entries received for the journalistic work done in the rather turbulent year of 2019. In another rare gesture, the jury makes honorable mention of a third journalist, Rukmini Srinivasan. For its sheer ingenuity and tenacity, Rohini Mohan's reportage on the NRC exercise in Assam sets a new benchmark for investigative journalism. In the tradition of the Fourth Estate, Rohini's meticulous research on the ground, her humane engagement with the affected people, and her analysis of the arbitrary conduct of the institutions involved have yielded findings that have proved to be extremely insightful and far-reaching. Arfa Khanum Sherwani excelled in reporting from conflict situations in Kashmir and Uttar Pradesh. Through her online videos in Hindi, including field reports and studio discussions, Arfa displayed exceptional courage and empathy in giving voice to people on the margins and holding authorities to account. Her work is marked by a deep and nuanced understanding of the issues that dominated the year. Rukmini Srinivasan deserves special recognition for pushing the boundaries of data journalism in India, for the imaginative manner in which she responded to a wide range of events by mining data and making little-known connections. Rukmini's stories were eye-openers, often counterintuitive as well. She has used data not just as cold numbers, but to shine a light on social injustices. These three journalists were picked from a total of 42 entries for what has been, right since its inception in 1982, the foremost award for women journalists. While most of the entries were from those practicing journalism in English, there were a few from their counterparts in Hindi, Malayalam, Odia, and Telugu. The nominees range from the head of a news portal to a noted TV news anchor, from those beginning to make a mark to those who have already received several awards. The nominees were from across the country, as evident from the three selected at the end of the challenging process of evaluation. Rohini is from Bengaluru, Arfa from Delhi, and Rukmini from Chennai. The jury records its deep appreciation to all the nominees for their remarkable achievement in doing journalism of a high order at a time when the credibility and freedom of the media have been increasingly under attack. They are a cause for hope and celebration. Latika Patgaonkar in Pune will now read the citations. Thank you.
Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist 2019. Arfa Khanum Sherwani. Arfa Khanum Sherwani, the joint winner of the Chameli Devi Jain Award for Women Journalists 2019, has spent nearly 2 decades in broadcasting and is currently senior editor at the news portal The Wire. She has covered various elections, reported from conflict zones from Kabul to Iraq, always taking care to introduce her audiences to the politics of despair and the politics of backlash that have created those conflicts. In this connection, her insightful investigative reports about the rise of private militias and growing sectarian and caste clashes in the town of Gorakhpur and the brutal suppression of the revolt of beleaguered Dalits and tribals in Sonbhadra one of the most backward districts of Uttar Pradesh, are remarkable. In 2019, Arfa was one of the first journalists to visit the Kashmir Valley after the revocation of Article 370. She reported frequently from inside the valley at considerable risk to herself since the area was in a state of total lockdown. In all her body of work, Arfa comes across as a sensible, good listener and a truthful reporter of what she has witnessed. She can dive into the minds of the deprived, marginalized and often brutalized groups to reveal the heart of real India, where a struggle for equality, independence and autonomy goes on ceaselessly. She also documents the failures of the democratic state, detailing who have bent democratic institutions and how, marginalizing the already weaker sections of our society. Arfa's work presents to us an honest, balanced sheet of where we stand as a democracy today, and also how, since democratic aberrations are always man-made, they can be corrected while there is still time. For her grit and honesty, she richly deserves the award named after Chameli Devi Jain, a gutsy freedom fighter whose spirited support for Gandhian values of truth and non-violence in the face of police brutality and incarceration remain a beacon for us all. The Media Foundation is honoured to salute Arfa Khanum Sherwani with the Chameli Devi Jain Award for 2019.
Today is a day of great happiness for me. I'm humbled. Thank you for this tremendous honor. This award comes at a time when the government is strengthening its control over information. Instead of upholding transparency during the pandemic-induced crisis, it is muzzling reporters, suppressing free speech, and criminalizing dissent. False cases, frivolous FIRs, police violence, and the use of investigative agencies. These are some of the methods being used to intimidate independent media in India and suppress the truth. All this to deprive citizens of their right to be informed about what is happening around them. While there have been attacks on press freedom before, what is different this time is that a section of media has literally become an extension of the government's propaganda machinery. But there are others, journalists and media platforms who at great personal risk are still questioning the government, reporting the facts and raising the concerns of the marginalized sections. And for this, they are often portrayed as enemies of the state. तो इस घुटन भरे अंधेरे खौफनाक माहौल में कैसे कोई पत्रकार अपना काम करेगा? क्या भारत में पत्रकारिता की मौत नजदीक है? मैं कहती हूँ यही तो वक्त है जब हम पत्रकारिता की वो किताब, वो पवित्र किताब फिर से उठाएं जिसके हर पन्ने पर यह जड़ा हुआ है कि हम और हमारा काम कितना जरूरी है। यह हमारे पेशे का महत्व और जरूरत ही तो है कि सत्ता अपनी पूरी ताकत और अहंकार के साथ हमारी आवाज कुचल देना चाहती है। यही वो जरूरत है जो मेरे जैसे पत्रकारों को कंप्लीट ब्लैकआउट के बावजूद सरकार की मर्जी के खिलाफ हर खौफ और खतरे की परवाह किए बिना कश्मीर ले जाती है और मैं भारत के संविधान और नागरिक अधिकारों की लाइव हत्या अपने कैमरे में कैद कर पाती हूँ। यही वो जिम्मेदारी है जो भारतीय लोकतंत्र के हाशिए पर रह रहे दलित, आदिवासियों, मजदूरों, मुसलमानों की कुचली हुई आवाजों तक मेरा माइक और कैमरा पहुंचता है और उन कहानियों के जरिए लोकतंत्र के सूरज की कुछ किरणें उनकी अंधेरी गलियों और अंधेरे जीवन में शायद पहुंच पाती हैं। लोकतंत्र में यही विश्वास वो एक अदना से नागरिक को वो ताकत दे देता है कि शाहीन बाग की मुट्ठी भर महिलाओं ने सत्ता के अहंकार को चुनौती दी और भारतीय समाज की अंतरात्मा को जगाया। सीमित संसाधन और सीमित पहुंच, द वायर जैसे छोटे मीडिया संस्थानों को की अपनी हदें जरूर हैं, लेकिन हम अपनी हदों की परवाह नहीं करते, अपनी जिम्मेदारी और जरूरत को पहचानते हैं। हमारी जवाबदेही किसी नेता या सेठ के प्रति नहीं, उन करोड़ों पाठकों और दर्शकों के लिए है जो स्वतंत्र पत्रकारिता का समर्थन करते हैं। और इसका एक खास उदाहरण मैं आपको देना चाहती हूँ कि किस तरह से हमारे दर्शक हमारा समर्थन करते हैं कि YouTube के कमेंट सेक्शन में नीचे कई बार मैंने दर्शकों को देखा, उन्होंने कहा कि 200 रुपया महीना हम आपको देते हैं, असम के हमारे फलां इलाके से आपने खबर अभी तक कवर क्यों नहीं की है, या छत्तीसगढ़ के आदिवासी बिल्कुल इलाके की एक महिला, एक लड़की लिखती है कि मैं अपने पॉकेट मनी से 100 रुपए आपको हर महीने पे करती हूं, मेरी खबर अभी तक क्यों नहीं चली है। इसलिए हमारी जिम्मेदारी सिर्फ हमारे पाठकों और दर्शकों के प्रति है। इसलिए हम जानते हैं कि हमारे लोकतंत्र के जिंदा रहने के लिए जरूरी है मीडिया का जिंदा रहना, उसके जमीर का जिंदा रहना। जरूरी है सत्ता की आंख में आंख डालकर सवाल पूछना। जरूरी है ताकत के नशे में मदमस्त निरंकुश होते शासकों को उनका राजधर्म याद दिलाना। जरूरी है नफरत और बदले की भावना के गहरे कुएं में धकेल दी गई एक पूरी पीढ़ी को आवाज लगाना और याद दिलाना कि ये लोकतंत्र हमने कितनी मेहनत, कितनी मशक्कत से अर्जित किया है। इस लोकतंत्र की इमारत को खड़ा करने में हमारा खून पसीना लगा है। देश का सबसे गरीब नागरिक एक एक ईंट बनकर इस इमारत में लगा हुआ है। ये देश राजनीतिक पार्टियों का नहीं, हमारा और आपका है। सरकारें आती जाती रहेंगी, आती जाती रहेंगी, आती जाती रहती हैं। ये देश हमेशा था, हमेशा रहेगा। मुझे खुशी इस बात की है कि मुझे इस सम्मान के लिए चुना गया, लेकिन मुझसे कहीं ज्यादा मेहनत और खतरा उठाते हैं कस्बों, गांव देहात में छोटे कहे जाने वाले वो पत्रकार जिनका काम मुझसे कहीं ज्यादा बड़ा है। ट्विटर, फेसबुक पर उनके लाखों फॉलोअर्स तो नहीं है, लेकिन वो बड़े खतरे उठाकर खबर का एक छोटा सा टुकड़ा आप तक लेकर आते हैं। इन्हीं पत्रकारों की बदौलत भारत में पत्रकारिता जिंदा है। ये अवार्ड पाकर मेरी खुशी इसलिए भी दोगुनी हो गई है कि ये सम्मान सिर्फ मेरा नहीं बल्कि हिंदी पत्रकारिता का भी है। गर्त में जाती पत्रकारिता यूं तो भाषाओं की सीमा को नहीं पहचानती, लेकिन इस दौर की पत्रकारिता का जब इतिहास लिखा जाएगा तो हिंदी के टीवी पत्रकारों के लिए अलंकार ढूंढने मुश्किल होंगे। साथ ही मैं इस अवसर का इस्तेमाल करना चाहती हूँ ये अपील करने के लिए कि टीवी के पत्रकार अपने पाठकों और दर्शकों के प्रति अपने कर्तव्य के बारे में एक बार फिर से जरूर सोचें। So is independent journalism dead in India? This may be largely true for media controlled by big money and the government. But the fact is that there are many journalists who are ready to stake everything to fulfill their duties, and there are millions of people who have been coming forward to support independently run media houses like The Wire. This is proof that the public wants free media and is willing to put its faith and money into it. So precisely this model of a public supported media organization is the future of journalism in the largest democracy of the world. Once again, thank you very much for this honor. I want to dedicate this award to the people of Kashmir and the women of Shaheen Bagh who have been the single largest influence on my journalism this year. I also want to thank The Wire's editors for providing me the platform and having faith in my work, and I want to thank all my colleagues in our small but stellar video department. And last but not the least, my family that has been a pillar of strength for me, my parents, my husband and my children. It wouldn't have been possible without their support.
Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist 2019. Rohini Mohan. Rohini Mohan is being jointly presented the Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist 2019 for exceptional reportage from Assam on the events around the controversy over the citizenship issue. Her work is characterized by two essential qualities of a good reporter: integrity and perseverance. She has demonstrated a capacity for combining a reporter's curiosity and inquisitiveness with an admirable sensibility and respect for decency, for blending the local and the specific with a larger perspective, for engaging with the affected without losing sight of the need for detachment and impartiality. Rohini is recognized for her consistent record of first-rate reporting from Assam and its many fault lines, cascading into the entire northeast region. Her reports and larger work have filled a major gap in the nation's understanding of a distant part of India, bringing to attention complexities and complications behind the recurring conflicts and contestations. To the extent her work is intelligently informed by professional and intellectual honesty, she provides the first drafts of history. Beyond Assam, Rohini has done extensive reporting from Sri Lanka as well as from other trouble spots in India. In doing so, she has displayed courage, clear-headedness and a commitment to tell it as it is, a refusal to take at face value the official line, and a healthy willingness to question orthodoxy, all essential qualities of robustly independent journalism which are fast disappearing from the Indian media. Rohini is also recognized as a leading specimen of the new generation of women journalists, educated, confident, unafraid and competent to make their contribution to the abiding values and obligations of good journalism. Her talent has already been widely recognized and her non-fiction work vastly appreciated. The Media Foundation is honoured to salute Rohini Mohan with the Chameli Devi Jain Award for 2019.
Thank you so much for the Chameli Devi Jain Award. I spent most of the last 2 years reporting on the citizenship issue, how it functions and how it impacts people in Assam, and also how it impacts the rest of the country. Thank you so much for acknowledging this work. It's extremely encouraging. As an independent journalist, I wrote on the issue for 8 publications over 1 year. I must thank all the editors and publications who demanded newer angles and stronger stories, especially Vice News. They carried my investigation into foreigners' tribunals in Assam. The verdicts that I got through RTIs showed how dangerously biased and arbitrary the functioning of the tribunals are. It was an attempt to merge data journalism with ground-reported narrative, and I'm honoured that it is recognised today. I am deeply honoured, but honestly, I just don't think that I've done enough. Every time a story is praised as brave or important or award-worthy, I know how many of us journalists look at who it has helped on the ground. Has it helped anyone at all concretely? Has it undone a law? There were massive protests across the country against the National Register of Citizens and the Citizenship Amendment Act that openly discriminates against Muslims. But today, there are detentions, intimidation, and charges of rioting against the peaceful organizers of these very protests. Our reporting on these issues does expose how flimsy these accusations are and throws more proof at the world, but it's also sometimes the source of a paralyzing cynicism. Sometimes it seems that journalism is done for its own sake. When you see unbearable injustices like the disenfranchisement of people or obvious undeserved hardship like migrant workers faced after an overnight lockdown, reporting gives a sense of purpose and writing or expression gives a sense of release. Sometimes I wonder if that's all it's about. Even when a story exposes injustice, even when it is in public interest, one story rarely changes anything, and one journalist changes nothing. The only times when journalism has been able to really shake the foundations of power are when we reported as a collective, even unconsciously. When more than a dozen usual suspects zero in on injustice and keep the pressure up from all sides with daily reports, in-depth reports, follow-ups, video, audio, fact checks, data journalism. Like many are doing now to cover the brutal rape in Hathras and the prevalence of upper caste violence against Dalits. We did it for the citizenship issue as reporters from across states and languages explored how it works, what it will do, who it will affect most. In Assam first, and then after the Delhi riots, I saw young reporters working as a collective. I was part of them sometimes, sharing costs and contacts, protecting each other, talking through their confusions. Journalists who cover the environment, for instance, do it all the time. Working like this makes it easier to ignore the abuses that come our way, like being called Latin's journalist or JNU wale, which anyway describes so few of us. There are external forces which are already making it harder for us reporters to simply do our jobs. Media organizations don't want to spend money on field reporting. Hundreds of my fellow journalists have lost their jobs this year in the middle of a pandemic. Many others are facing criminal charges for what they've said or written. And journalists working in Jammu and Kashmir find their hands tied by the state in ways that we can't even imagine. As a working field reporter, I say to people with money, intellectual curiosity, and ethics, please invest in investigative projects and independent journalists. For my investigation on the foreigners' tribunals, Type Investigation provided editorial and financial support. Without it, I couldn't have spent the time I needed on my story. They gave me not just funds, but also fact checkers and an editor that I could call at the end of a reporting day. They would have given me legal support if it came to that. Lack of financial and legal support knocks the wind out of public interest journalism and forces the burden of courage and bravery on committed and already poorly funded journalists. We need more journalists to throw ourselves at public interest stories with solidarity and healthy competition. We need to drown out the anchors and talking heads who never leave their studios. We need more reporting from the ground, from a variety of voices, and not just English language upperclass journalists like me. And for that, we need holistic investment in Indian journalism and Indian journalists. For powerful projects, for reporters writing in Hindi, Tamil, Marathi, and other languages. And basic, decent support for those facing litigation. Like many of my peers, I spend more time thinking about the stories that we haven't done than feeling good about the ones that we have. What this award actually does is remind me that I was part of a rare harmony of reporting on the citizenship issue. It was sensitive, humane, and persistent. It also reminds me that we need so much more of that. Thank you once again for the recognition.
Chameli Devi Jain Award for an Outstanding Woman Journalist 2019, Honorable Mention, Rukmini S. The Chameli Devi Jain Award aims to promote excellence in journalism through recognizing the work of our outstanding women journalists. The members of the jury for the Chameli Devi Jain Award 2019 decided to acknowledge Rukmini S for an honorable mention for her sharp and analytical journalistic work. Rukmini skillfully handles data to analyze complex issues and provide insightful reports on those issues. Her work is not only marked with meticulous research, but is well contextualized. Her ability to interpret dry data into interesting stories on contemporary issues is exemplary. Her data-driven journalism deals with topics and issues that do not attract the attention of mainstream media. Rukmini's work has focused on issues of critical importance. These issues range from displaying the ways in which state policies impact the marginalized and poorer sections of society, what are the factors that motivate voters, the masculinization of Indian workforce, to statistics on sexual violence. Her data-driven approach for election coverage has added a new, more credible way through which the media covers elections. Through the use of data during the general elections of 2019, Rukmini has sought to illustrate how and why voters make the choices that they do. This has helped to create a whole new awareness about the ground realities of our electoral process. It has also expanded the way elections are reported in the Indian media, going beyond opinion polls and the impressionistic reportage of touring journalists. Rukmini is recognized and honored for the intellectual rigor she brings to unearthing the connections between different sets of data and illustrating emerging trends and the correlations between them. Her stories, using the tools of statistical interpretations, are an example of modern journalism at its best.